Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, E-Coffee with Experts. This is Ranmay here, your host for today's episode. And today we have Wendy, who is the CEO and co-founder at ContentBacon with us. Hey, Wendy.
Hi there.
Wendy, before we move forward and pick your brains on SEO content, why don't you help us understand more about your journey, how ContentBacon was formed, what you guys specialize in, and then we can take it forward from there on.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. As you mentioned, I'm the CEO and co-founder of ContentBacon. We launched the company in the fall of 2014 and officially got going in 2015. So it's been a wonderful journey. And the reason we started ContentBacon was my partner and I both had other companies. I had more of a strategic marketing, boutique consulting type company, and it was a great business and I was doing very well, but it was a really challenging company for me to scale. And that's what I was interested in. I wasn't just interested in owning a business. I was really interested in building a business that could run without me. And so I was struggling on how to turn this very boutique agency model that was very dependent on me into a scalable model. And I uncovered that no matter what type of company I was working with, whether they were, on the small startup side or larger, company, they were all struggling on, on how to keep up with content because as digital platforms became more and more important and having a consistent presence was vital to look alive, companies just were not prepared on how internally to make that happen. So it sparked an idea in me to create content subscriptions so that these companies could pick and choose what they wanted to do on a monthly basis and then rest easy knowing that it was going to be done, that they didn't have to worry about it, didn't have to check on it, but that their digital presence was staying up to date and alive. And so that's how ContentBacon was birthed. And we've been on a very rapid growth trajectory ever since.
Lovely. Quite a journey. Wendy, could you take us back to the beginning of your journey in content marketing in particular? How did you get into this field and how has your perspective evolved over the years?
Yeah, so I think our original goal was to really help companies show up more prominently and more significantly so that when their prospects were searching for them or maybe just checking them out because they had been referred to them, that their digital presence really told a compelling story. It was really going from websites and social media being your website being more just a digital brochure and your social media being just a place where you post random what I ate for lunch today to how do I really make sure that the content on my digital platforms is helping my prospects, solving a problem for them, making them better in some way. So that's really how we've always approached content. I have a big belief, I still have it today, and I don't think this has changed much, that every company has an amazing story to tell. Most are usually doing it very poorly or not at all. And that's because they're busy working in the business and they don't think about the website or what's going on with their social media, or they outsource it to an intern or someone who has no experience. And the companies that really understand content and the power of content and how it really touches everything and it's part of your culture are the ones that I think win in the marketplace, create a very strong, unique selling proposition, and really are creating a valuable asset.
Lovely. Very rightly mentioned. A lot of companies actually give it to social media. They have the social media interns doing a lot of content work for them, and they expect results out of those interns just out of college or doing summer internships during the break. So yeah, people who actually take it seriously, like you mentioned, because that is something which represents your own story. So you need to take care of it, how you're going to be represented and how you want to be represented rather on the online space. And that is where probably content comes to the picture. And any experts, let's say an agency or hiring resources who are expert in this particular domain really helps, right? Rather than giving it out to
Absolutely.
interns or people who are not so experienced in this particular space.
100%. Yeah, because leadership is really what drives the story. Often it's the founder, depending on what type of company it is. But if leadership isn't involved in communicating the story to the world, then no one beneath is going to be able to be effective. Bringing in someone who might be savvy at social media and understand all the different tools that are available is very different than working with someone who understands what creates content, what creates connection, what creates that audience wanting to know more, do more. It's two very distinct skill sets.
Absolutely. And then when you are an expert in generating awareness through content, right? It'll be great if you can elaborate some key elements that make content a powerful tool for creating awareness given today's competitive landscape that we are all are in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people have the general perception that there's too much content out there. It's overwhelming. I don't necessarily want to participate in adding more. And I think there's something to that. But I think that to me, what makes content valuable is when it's useful and when you're thinking about your target audience and what's going to be useful to them. So maybe the audience might be smaller, but if you're providing value and thinking about what problems they have, what opportunities they may be missing out on, and you approach it from that mindset of how can I make sure I'm adding value, then your audience will want to read it, want to engage with it, want to view it. If you're just putting out content for the sake of putting out content, because it's easy to do through different AI tools. Hey, I can create 1,000 blogs in 10 minutes. Sure, you can, but is that really adding value? And I think the challenge today for companies is not to get sucked into the, oh, let me just do more content because now there's all these tools that make it easy. I think the opportunity today is even greater for those companies who take the time to understand what is their audience dealing with and how can I be that go-to expert, that go-to resource that's going to make their life easier versus just put more stuff out there that's what everyone else is doing. So really distinguishing from generic content to content that only you can do because your company or you as the brand of the company have that knowledge that no one else has and you can't get it from search engines or AI tools.
You have been in this space for quite some time now, right? And now, like you mentioned, AI has taken this particular space by storm since last year. It has been a year to chat GPT now. So, apart from AI or including AI, let's say, how have you seen the expectations and demands of the audiences change in terms of the content that they engage with? Because in the last 10 years, this particular industry has boomed like anything, right? So there's a lot of content these days, like you mentioned, on social media. So how you feel that the audience's perspective has changed during the course of the time? And then how do you also at Content Bacon or your team adapt to these shifts in audience preferences in your content creation process for your clients?
Sure. I think that the biggest thing that most companies want when they're investing in anything, and content being one of them, is they want that ROI. They want to know that, hey, if I'm investing in this, I want to see that it works. And I think that can be, listen, obviously that makes sense, right? That's what we're in business to make money. But I think looking at that initially is the wrong lens. I think you've got to look at content as a long-term game, and you've got to be willing to give before you get. And so I think what we've seen change is companies want everything cheaper and faster. And that's not going to get you what you want. That's not going to get you results. What's going to get you results is really taking the time to create content that's high quality, that engages, that that provides, value. And that often takes time, or ROI isn't necessarily revenue coming in the door immediately, but it is you're growing your audience, you're growing your database, you're engaging with your community, you're seeing activity, you're getting information. And also the process of creating content for your company,
Mm.
it helps your company be better because it's, again, everyone wants everything like this. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. So those companies that take the time to really make sure that they understand what value we add, you may need to shift your offering because what you're offering today is no longer connecting with your audience. And oftentimes doing content is the way that starts to unravel and you start to realize, wow, we need to really innovate. It's time for us to, come up with some new offerings, some new products, some new ways to communicate. So it's really when you invest in content and storytelling and talking about what you do, it forces you as a company to be introspective, to be aligned as a company, and to be better. I think it makes companies so much better that value the impact and the influence their content can have because they're really speaking about it from the heart and not just let me just try to reach more people and blast a bunch of people. We are all on the receiving end of that kind of content. And I spend a good portion of my mornings just deleting 100 things because I can just tell that it's not going to be meaningful content for me.
Very true. And then when there is this concept of irresistible content, what is your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's in some ways it's simple. It's adding value to your audience. The first step is, do you understand your audience? You'd be surprised, maybe you wouldn't. When I ask my prospect or talk to a business about, tell me about your ideal customer, your buyer persona, what's important to them? What are they like? What are they dealing with? A lot of companies don't know. And so the way to create irresistible content is to first understand your audience and understand what they're dealing with and how what you do could potentially help them. And then creating content from that perspective. I think a very easy, I say this all the time. It's so simple, but it's so effective. Spending time internally talking about what are the frequently asked questions that your prospects are typically asking you, or what do you wish they would ask you? That can create a whole lot of ideas for what type of content you can create that is irresistible. So it's really always goes back to your audience and making sure that what you're creating is from the lens of what they would find valuable, not what you find valuable. And I think the other thing to think about is we're not just talking about content to create prospects, to create leads. There's also what are you doing for your current customers? So often companies forget that they have customers that may refer them, may buy more if they knew. A lot of times companies forget to communicate the additional services that they may provide or ask for referrals and so and even your internal team, companies that have larger teams and a lot of companies are working remotely, they may not have the opportunity to talk to their team on a consistent basis. So using content to build culture. So it's not just leads. It's also current customers, past customers, employees, referral sources. So really thinking about that. And then what are you doing to connect with each of those audiences on a consistent basis? There's usually a gold mine there that's untouched because companies are just focused on new versus nurturing what they already have.
Absolutely. A lot of businesses, unfortunately, in this industry, content also is looked at what ROI is there if we do so, and which is so unfortunate because a lot of content is also educational, wherein we want to put out content just to make people aware, not only about your brand, which is obviously a part of your strategy, but also about, let's say, the niche, let's say your industry, let's say any product of yours, which is, let's say, generic in nature. And by the by, let's say you pitch your brand, but it's more about informational content or educational content for the industry or for your customer segment at large. And then probably
100%.
you, yeah, and then probably you pitch in your brand with a strategy out there. And let's not look at direct ROI, for example. So yeah.
No, I 100% agree. I think it's so important to do that. And we have a saying internally, an educated customer is our best customer. So a lot of times a prospect will perhaps want to try to do it themselves and they'll research. And if you are the source for really great educational content on how they could do it themselves if they want to, then you build trust with them. We would like to create content too that isn't what everyone else will create. We'll say what others won't because we're not trying to protect anything. It's listen, if you want to go and, create your content and be your own content resource, here's how to go do it because most companies, when they really determine what it's going to take to do it, they're like, no, thank you. Let me outsource it. Because this is what we do. It's the only thing we do. We're not trying to do 100 different things. This is what we do. So we're very good at it. We're very effective at it. And outsourcing, and we have that saying also, what gets outsourced gets done. We don't try to do everything. If we have a good partner, it's let's use them. So I think that educational content is such a strong piece of a marketing plan.
Great, Wendy. The last one, I cannot let you go without asking this one. The growing prevalence of AI-driven tools in marketing. And it all started with content folks fearing for their jobs to now them using it probably the most, right? Versus anyone else in any other segment. So how do you balance the human touch in content creation while harnessing the efficiency and insights that an AI tool or AI technologies provide?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it just depends on the type of content that's being created. There is some basic foundational content that most companies need that AI can be a very effective tool to create the baseline. And we're big believers. Everything's, got to have a human editor because you just have to fact check formatting. That's just so important. So that hasn't gone away. But the only thing AI will do today is regurgitate some version of what's already been done. And again, there is a time for that. We work with some companies where it's very informational and they're just wanting to make sure that their audience gets that content. So AI can be a powerful tool to help us create that quicker with, again, the human editor. But I think the miss there is what are you creating that's new and innovative and that hasn't already been said before? And AI is not going to do that. And thought leadership type of content that is provocative, content that's controversial, that's also very irresistible content when done correctly. And so I think there's more of a opportunity today for great copywriters, great content writers who are willing to challenge and think and contemplate ideas before just spitting them out there. And I think this, prevalence of so many companies using AI tools to create a lot of generic content has created, on the flip side, the opportunity for those companies willing to think, contemplate, be innovative, to create content that is really captivating, irresistible, and, more of that human connection. Because for me, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. If what we're creating isn't somehow impacting someone on the other side of the computer, then we've not done our job. We're working on behalf of our customers to create human connections. Maybe we're going to get to the point where it's just bots speaking to bots and bots doing transactions. And that could be, but what we're in the human game, we're in the human connection game. And we use words, images, and sounds to create that human connection. And AI is not going to right now, because I will never say never. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm AI, not going to do that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the humanization part at the end of, let's say, content creation by AI tool, human edited, like we all said, is very crucial because the content is going to get consumed by humans, like we were discussing in the green room, to trigger that
Yes.
decision making, right? While we're using it to achieve better efficiency, but human aspects, in fact, content writers, or let's say copywriters, who have started using AI and have become more tech savvy, have actually landed up at a higher paying jobs.
Yeah.
This is how it started, to them getting scared of their jobs in the first place, let's say last December, around this time of the year. So it's about adapting to change is the name of the game. And like you mentioned, I resonate with that thought process. It's a human game. We are there. We'll still be there. While we never say, we don't say
Right.
never, but yeah, we are still in the game. I hope we will always stay in the game.
Me
But
too.
yeah, but yeah, you got to use it as a weapon in your armor versus thinking otherwise. So
Yeah, I think it's the tool similar to CRM, sales automation. I think it's a more powerful tool in some ways. Automation tools are a wonderful support for companies where, again, if you've got the right content, you can set up the triggers, and automation can do things so much easier than if you're relying on a human being. So I think we're always trying to balance, where does using technology make the experience better, and where does using technology lessen the experience? And we're always trying to determine, because there are many instances where using technology actually makes the experience better for the person on the other end. So that's always, to me, the lens I'm looking at it through, versus, can I do this cheaper? Can I do this faster? It's like, how much faster can we do things? It's like, we're already 24/7. You get a text, if you don't respond back in 30 seconds, it's like, how much faster do we really want this world to go? And to me, that's not the part that excites me. The part that excites me about AI and all these tools is providing a better experience that creates a better result. And if I can do that with AI or whatever, I'm going to be looking at it.
absolutely, absolutely. Can't agree more. Great. Yeah, it has been a brilliant conversation, Wendy.
Yeah.
But before I finally let you go, we'll play a quick rapid fire. I hope you're ready for
Okay.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
ready.
perfect. Your last Google search, Wendy.
Huh. Well, that's Google search. Oh my goodness.
Feel free to look
You know,
that up. It's open book. Don't worry.
I was looking this morning for the definition of a brand, because yes. So what's the
Name
best
it.
definition of a brand?
Sure. Okay. Great. Moving on, your celebrity crush.
It would be, oh my goodness, his name just escaped me. I'm
Rapid.
looking at him from Silver Linings Playbook, Bradley Cooper.
Okay. Great. What did you do with your first paycheck, Wendy? First paycheck of your life.
What did I do with my first paycheck? I probably went out and blew it partying with my friends.
That was an honest one. Great. All right. All right. The last one will not really any further. Where do we find Wendy on Friday evenings after office or work rather, because you
Yes.
guys operate remotely?
Yeah, so I have a great Friday ritual. I go and I do an infrared sauna and a cold plunge, and that's how I like end my week. And then
Mhm.
usually after that, you'll find me somewhere having great dinner, great drinks, and just chilling out.
Lovely. Lovely. Great. Yeah, Wendy, it has been a great conversation. Really appreciate you taking out time to do this with us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.